in the experiences of mine as a person who's worked in the social sector in the Northeast, as well as a person who's been a former Vice Chairperson of the State Women's Commission in Meghalaya, what I realized over the years when we start training a lot of women on the Domestic Violence Act is the kind of awareness level that one has to understand is something which still has a long way to go. Now, the Domestic Violence Act needs a lot of awareness, not just at the structure of the high level, but it also has to penetrate down to the rural, to the grassroots, where every woman have to learn to understand what does Domestic Violence Act provides, what kind of support system it provides. Because very often women have not even understand what domestic violence is all about. Sometimes when a person is hit, when a woman is hit by her husband, or is often being basically abused verbally, sometimes women who are married think that it is not violence. They feel that it's very natural in a marriage to undergo physical abuse, mental abuse. These are the things that they have not been able to have an understanding. So what I would say is that as a woman, it's so important that one has to really understand that being a woman and undergoing domestic violence, one has to go much more beyond from physical, but also to look in terms of the mental abuses that one has to understand that they're going through a kind of violences in the relationship. At the other level, what I would say is that the Domestic Violence Act is just not only for people who are married, but it's also for people who are in an intimate relationship. We're partners. Sometimes a lot of young women who are actually having a partner in their life and does go through mental abuse and also goes through physical abuse, does not report back. So the level of reporting back or registering an FIR is something which is still missing as far as the region is concerned. So it needs a lot of civil society organization to create that kind of awareness. Secondly is that the State Women's Commission in the respective state, which has already started, will need to emphasize that they are there to actually help women who are actually facing domestic violence. The other bit is that when we talk about awareness on Domestic Violence Act, we also have to go not only to the grassroots or to community at large, but we also have to look at educational institution when we have to bring this kind of awareness at the larger end. And what I've also experienced over the years is that a lot of young women in the area feels that by reporting back Domestic Violence Act, it becomes a stigma, to themselves and to their family. That's why they hesitate to come forward, and still would go through those abuses for long years and many years into the relationship just to avoid to report back. And when they realize that the Act is actually working at different levels, it needs them to come forward. The other aspect is that I also realized that confidentiality of these cases is something which civil society organization needs to really understand, that when a case is being reported, confidentiality has to be maintained, because it's also a life of a person. It's just not one time, but it's a long time for the person that needs to really be supported. Then the services at different level in the state, these are still inadequate as far as the region is concerned. And I feel that even in the state of Assam, for instance, a lot of services has to be provided, support system, rehabilitation support, shelter for women, because for some, of course, they manage because they are basically being able to earn a livelihood, but some who are not actually earning a livelihood or doesn't have an income, it becomes very difficult for them to walk out of a domestic violence relationship, whether it's a marriage or a personal relationship that they have. I also like to emphasize that the Domestic Violence Act is not only for women in a relationship called marriage or private relationship or partner relationship, but it also evolved very much for older people who are actually, it also covers them, and that awareness has to be brought, because more and more older people are going through violences by their own children, and it also covers within the Act. So that is something that needs to be taken forward. And I think the media has a long way, and it has a very strong point and a long way to go, to be partnering that, not to emphasize domestic violence as only it's a victim who's going through, but for any woman who come forward, they need to encourage and support that it takes a lot of guts and guts to come out and speak about it openly.